Hello everyone, Panda here and welcome back to another Dead by Daylight mobile video. If you want to download DBD Mobile, take the link in the description or scan the QR code currently on the screen. In the last video, I checked out the basic mechanics of the game and what you're going to need to do to get started. And today we're going to delve deeper into the mechanics of the game and also some of my favorite killers, favorite survivors, and favorite perks. But first, let's delve into the settings and the control menu, because in here there are a couple of settings that are really going to be quite important and enable you to tailor the game to your specific needs. Now, a big one for people who are interested in playing killer is the aim assist. This is, as it sounds like, going to help your control drift towards the survivor so you're able to hit them. While it is nice that it enables you to track the survivor a little bit without having to fully aim towards them, it definitely can work against you if you're playing a ranged killer such as the Huntress, because the camera will slightly track the survivor based on where they are, and sometimes you want to throw the hatchet on where they're going to be. However, I'm a bit of a fan of having full control, so I'm going to turn aim assist off. And personally for Survivor, I do like the tap to lock running, because it just enables you to toggle between running, walking, and crouching. And finally up, we have the UI, which you can fully customize, which is absolutely beautiful. Personally, I like to change the player profiles in the top left, bring them down a little bit. I don't need them to be quite so big. So there we go, I have cleaned up my Survivor UI a little bit, just how I like it, and also tidied up the Killer UI a little bit, so I've got room to move, I can access my ability, and also I've made the Survivor portrait smaller, so I've got more space on the screen to see where the survivors are and just be more aware of everything around me. So now that our screen is set up in a way that is perfect to us and personalized to our needs, let's have a look at the gameplay mechanics we're going to be talking about today. So first, the concept of looping and how we're going to use that as survivor and also play against it as killer, and then also saving techniques such as body blocking, flashlight saves, and sabotage. So looping is a huge part of the game, and it is essentially using the tiles around the map to your advantage as a survivor. And it is called looping because we're trying to get as much value out of a tile and a piece of scenery without getting injured. So this can be as simple as just running around a block of cars, and then also looping around an LT wall, which is a tile in the game where one wall is the shape of an L and the other one is the shape of a T. As a killer, if a survivor is adept at using an LT wall, it can be incredibly hard to catch up with them, and quite often a survivor could run you around this for a huge amount of time if they know what they're doing. And it is not even just as simple as knowing which way to run around the tile. As the killer, you project a red light out of the front of your character called the red stain, and survivors can see this to know which way you're facing. And it gets even more complicated to the point where killers can look in other directions while walking to be able to fake the survivor out and confuse them, and this way they won't know which way you're coming and you can actually catch them out. Now, it will take you time as survivor and killer to figure out the most efficient way to loop these, and as there are 19 different killers in Dead by Daylight Mobile, some of these thrive around loops and some of these do not. For example, the nurse, who can teleport through solid objects, is obviously going to have an easier time at navigating these. However, as a killer like the trapper, you might be better to utilize your traps to make it so the survivor needs to move on from the certain tile. And another really important thing as killer is to maybe not get so wrapped in your current chase. Sometimes you need to break the chase, leave them alone as much as it hurts you, and go and tend to your generators or go and chase someone else. And accepting that you cannot always win every single chase is a big part of this. If you chase someone for 2 minutes and they've done all the rest of the generators, it's really not worth it. So picking your battles based on your strengths as the current killer you're playing, very important. Next up, we're going to look at survivor techniques for saving your teammates. Of course, rescuing your teammates from the hooks is very important to keep them alive, but there are also techniques that you can use to stop them getting hooked in the first place. If the killer is carrying a survivor to a hook, and they've been carrying them for a while, if you go and stand in front of that hook, the killer will need to hit you to be able to hook that survivor. And the time that it takes the killer to hit you and wipe off their blade might be enough time required for the survivor to wiggle out of their grasp, and then no one gets hooked. And this can be a game-changing moment, as you can save a survivor from potentially dying and keeping all 4 players alive in the match. This further draws out your time that you've got available for other teammates to complete the generators and try and power the exit gates. Additionally, if you have Saboteur or you have a toolbox, you can also destroy a hook that a killer is walking towards. This will mean the killer will have to try and pick a different hook to try and walk towards, and in a lot of situations it will be too far and the survivor will have a chance to wiggle out. Additionally, if a survivor is down underneath a pallet and you drop the pallet on the killer as they are picking up the survivor, they will wiggle out of their grasp. And the trickiest technique is using a flashlight to make the killer drop the survivor as they're picking up. If you time it right and shine the flashlight in the killer's eyes as they're picking up, they will drop the survivor. And knowing these techniques and being aware of them is going to propel you into the big leagues as both survivor and killer. For example, picking a survivor up as the killer, making sure you face a wall or look away from where you know survivors are can save you from being flashlight blinded, and also being aware if there are survivors near you when a survivor's under a pallet can really make sure that you don't get the pallet dropped on your head and drop that survivor. And if you've chased a survivor for a minute and you finally knock them down, but then when picking them up, they get freed again by another survivor, you're going to have to do that whole chase again. Also, in my opinion, it's important as a survivor to be aware of your teammates and how many hooks they've had. If you've not been hooked yet in the game and you are seeing that, say, a Jake is being chased and he is going to die on his next hook, it can be really beneficial for your team for you to go over there, try and get the killer's attention, and essentially, even if you get knocked down and hooked, you've drawn out the game, you've given your other teammates more time to do generators and objectives, and as long as you get saved, this is really going to be beneficial for your entire team. So now let's have a little look at survivors and killers and which ones I think are really the best. Survivors all have essentially the same playstyle, and once you've leveled them up enough and you've unlocked the teachable perks, they can have every perk on every different character. So what's really the difference? Well, male characters are taller than female characters, which makes them easier to spot. And apart from the height, all survivors have different noises that they make. So Jeff, who is my favorite survivor character, is unfortunately the loudest character in the game. He makes way more noise than other survivors when he's injured. So maybe picking a character with these different things, sound and visuals, is going to be beneficial to you. And I'm going to rate my top 5 favorite perks from the survivors. First up, an exhaustion perk. To be able to get away from the killer, I really like Lithe, which is a Feng Min perk. You can perform a rushed vault over a pallet or through a window and get a nice little speed boost that will put some distance between you and the killer, enabling you to get to the next loop or get to the next pallet to be able to loop them further and draw out the chase. Second up, we have a perk from Kate Denson called Windows of Opportunity. This will allow you to see pallets and windows around you at all times, letting you know where you can loop the killer around to be able to drop a pallet to save you mid-chase. This can be really valuable and save your life, as you always know where you want to head to draw the chase out for longer. And you'll see a lot of professional and also new players using this perk because it's really just great. Third on the list is Decisive Strike from Laurie Strode. After you're saved from the hook, if the killer knocks you down again and tries to pick you up within 1 minute, you will get a hard skill check, but if you pull this off, you will stun the killer, be dropped from his grasp, and be able to run away. This can really help you out if the killer really wants to get you out of the game. Next up, I'm a big fan of We'll Make It. After saving a teammate from the hook, you heal 100% faster for 90 seconds, allowing both of you to get back in the game as quick as possible, fully healed, and working on those generators. And finally, a favorite of mine, it is Bond from Dwight. This perk lets you see the auras of teammates when they're near you, really helpful for finding teammates to heal, and also finding teammates who are working on generators so you can both go and work together. Of course, these are just my personal favorites, but I am a big fan of them. And over on Killer, of course, it goes deeper than just perks here. We've got all different types of powers and abilities and ways to use them, and some of them are definitely harder than others. So let's have a look at my top 5 killers and their abilities. The Nurse is up there. Once you master her ability to teleport through walls and navigate the map, you will be an unstoppable killing machine. It definitely takes some time to get used to, but once you master it, it feels great. The most basic killer, the Trapper, is one of my favorites because although he's just a guy with some traps, if you have map knowledge and you're aware of the way that survivors play, you can place down your traps in really smart spots, and it's so satisfying to herd a survivor towards your traps. They think that they're getting away from you, but actually they're running straight towards their death. The Spirit can be incredibly powerful. She enters the phase state where she cannot see survivors and survivors cannot see her, but you can use audio and the scratch marks around the map to be able to locate survivors and get the drop on them. Fourth up is the Plague. She uses vomit to poison the survivors, and when they're fully infected, they cannot heal, they are broken. And the only way that they can heal is to go and find a pedestal around the map. This enables you to keep people injured a lot of the game, meaning that you only need to knock them down once to be able to down them. And an added bonus is that survivors will spread this plague between them if they work on generators together, or even if they save a survivor who is infected. And my 5th favorite killer is the Huntress. She throws hatchets around the map, reloads them at lockers, and having a ranged ability can be incredibly powerful. Nothing better than running to a loop that's going to be tricky for you to catch the survivor on, and instead just throwing a hatchet across the top of it and hitting them in the face and knocking them down. And on top of that, if I had to rate my top 5 favorite perks, I'm going to go for Brutal Strength from the Trapper to kick pallets and generators faster, enabling you to get back into the chase. Barbecue and Chili from Leatherface. After you hook a survivor, you can see the aura of other survivors far away from you, knowing where to go and chase and find them. Third up, Tinkerer from the Hillbilly. When a generator is nearing completion, it will give you an alert, so you know to head straight over there and halt the survivors. And also during this time, when you head over there, you will have no heartbeat radius, meaning you can sneak up on the survivors, they won't hear you coming, and then you get the drop on them. Fourth up from Michael Myers, save the best for last. The more you attack survivors, the more it stacks up, and the more it stacks up, the faster you can attack, wipe your blade, and get back in the chase. If you manage to power up this perk fully throughout the match, it's absolutely unstoppable. And fifth up from Freddy Krueger is Blood Warden, my absolute favorite perk ever. Once the exit gates are open and the endgame collapse has started, if you hook a survivor, it will block the exit gates for 1 minute, meaning the survivors cannot escape. This really is my favorite because it just gives you that end game potential to really turn it around. Say the survivors have done all the generators, they've opened the gates, you're feeling helpless. If you've got Blood Warden, you still have the possibility to pull off an absolutely game-changing clutch play, and it just feels great. So there is my advanced techniques guide for Dead by Daylight Mobile. Hopefully this helps you become a better survivor, to escape chases, to play smarter, and as killer, a more effective way to shut down chases, play killers to the best of their abilities, and protect your generators from those pesky survivors. Download DBD Mobile by using the link in the description or scanning the QR code on the screen. I look forward to seeing you next time. Have a wonderful day. Panda out.